Hey guys, it's Chris, and welcome to the Toned and Toneful video podcast episode number 26. Find your tribe, the friends of your purpose. Before we get started on today's episode, I wanted to say Happy New Year to you guys, and I wanted to say how thankful I am going into this new year with so much purpose. I hope that your guys' years has been starting off with maybe some new goals, or maybe some new little missions that you guys have just set aside and some new habits that you guys have decided, hey, I want to do it. I know it seems cliche to start with your new habits at the beginning of a new year, but we've got to find some point to do it. And if the new year was a point that you chose, well, guess what? Let's get going. Let's have a good time with it and let's enjoy it. So, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about finding your tribe, the friends of your purpose. And I believe that along with knowing what your own purpose is and knowing what you've been needing to work on, this could be one of the most, integral and helpful things that you can do to make it more possible for you to accomplish your mission. When we find our tribe, it can be kind of a hard thing because the first thing we got to do is we got to be honest with ourselves. If we're honest with ourselves, we can see where we are in life. If we look at the friendships and the relationships that are around us, are they ones that we can serve? And are there ones that can serve us? So right from the top, you're kind of asking yourself, are these people that I can get along with, or are these people that I can build with? Because in this modern day and age, it's easy to have a lot of acquaintances that we call friends, or a lot of family members that are, they're family members, but along with the idea that we've got more social media and that we have more ability to connect, it makes it easier to connect. Is being easier to connect to each other necessarily the thing that builds a better relationship? And sometimes I don't always think that's true. I think that having a good relationship and finding the people who are in our tribe, the people who feel the same way that we do in life, or who are going for things in the same vision. It doesn't mean that they want exactly the same thing, but say you're working really hard on a specific thing like your music, and they're working really hard on a specific thing like maybe they're doing acting. It doesn't matter if it's the exact same subject, but the way that they go about achieving those results and having the same values and having the same ability to see the world in a way that you do, where they want to give the same things to the world, I think that makes it possible to have good relationships. You want to treat each other right. You see the world from the same kind of values, and that you make the effort to make that connection. So we've got to be honest with ourselves. If we start looking at the people in our lives, are these people the ones that you have close in your life, the ones that you put time into? Are these the people who are putting that same thing into you? Are these the people who are putting that same effort and thought process into what you do too? Because when you keep putting effort into someone and you keep putting time into people in your life, you're giving a part of yourself away. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we want to share with no expectation. We want to give, and we want to be able to build from that point. But then the second question comes into play. Are you giving to something that is reciprocal? Are you giving to something that helps you grow as much as you help them grow, so that when you share with no expectation, you're building a real bond that can be there for you, and building a real bond that serves the world and to bring light into it? So, being honest with yourself about the people who are around you is the first thing you can do. When you think back on your communication with them, are you guys communicating both ways? Or is it just a situation where you're constantly reaching out to them and they just kind of respond to you they're more like, you're like, hey, what's going on? They're like, oh, what's up? And then you're like, oh, well, how's your day going? And they're like, oh, pretty good, Or is it one of those situations where you're actually building a friendship, where something comes up and they see something and they send you a message and you're like, well, this made me think of you. And then you're like, oh, it's funny. I was just, I noticed this thing and I got you a gift. And then, the next day that you guys are, finally together, they want to take you out to lunch. Is it one of those things where it's just reciprocal? It's one of those things that you can build on. And it's not about spending money. It's about the thought and the deed. And when we're building ourselves up, if we're honest with ourselves and we're on our mission to the hardest point, that's one of the things we can do to start bringing our tribe together. Because you don't want to be in a position where the people who are in your life, like you're sort of like chasing them so they'll be in your life. The people who are in your life should be adding to it. They should be the people who are around you who help you fulfill your purpose. They should be the people around you who, when you go astray, they can tell you the truth. And their honesty isn't an honesty that's meant to hurt you. Their honesty isn't an honesty that's just like, oh, like they just like to, like cut people down whenever they get the chance. It should be that kind of honesty where they are using the right words and they are using the right situations to keep you in line with the things that you want, the things that you want to do in this world for your purpose. And it can be easy to spend time around people who maybe accept us for the lower version of ourselves, dare I say. Spend time with people who accept us for, I've had, times in my life where I was drinking and I was smoking a lot of weed. And when I was in those positions, I had friends who were always down to smoke with me, always down to drink with me. But whenever I started kind of elevating above that, even if we were drinking and smoking, I was like, oh, well, why don't we do this cool thing? Like, something that requires a little creativity or something that requires a little bit more, planning or mental stability in it. They would be like, I don't know, man, that just seems super hard. Like, I'm just trying to get lit. I'm just trying to kick back. I just want to watch this football game. I just want to do this. I want to do that. And when we look back upon the times that we were trying to create something and someone took away that opportunity, we need to be really careful because those people aren't our tribe. The people who are in your tribe are the people who want to see you win with your purpose. When you bring up an idea that's quality, they're like, wow, that's a really cool idea. Like maybe they don't necessarily want to do it, but they support you with it. They want to find a way to tell you that that's a cool idea, or they want to find a way to be like, yo, man, if you ever were to do that, that'd be pretty legit. And I think that a lot of us are missing that in our life. We haven't found our tribe. I think a lot of us spend time with associates we call friends. And I think a lot of us spend time with family members who secretly, it's not that they're trying to backstab you, but because their life is in a place where they're not winning, they don't really want to see you go to the next level. They don't really want to see you win. They want everyone to be at that level where we can all commiserate on a similar thing, whether that's us losing or whether that's us not having the best life that we can have. And that's really a sad thing, because a true tribe of people, even if it's 3 or 4 people, that's why I've always been told, and I'm pretty sure you've heard many times in your life, that you can count real friends on one hand. And really, that is a truth, because there's only so many people who really align with you and are meant to help you do your purpose. And I think that honesty that I'm talking about in the beginning of like looking at the people around you in your life, I think one of the first people you need to really look at is yourself. Because if you really look into what you were designed to do, how you were designed to bring light into this world, none of us were brought in this world to do pure evil. We are brought into this world to bring light to this world and to bring like a specific gift that we've all been given. Everyone's got a different gift. And it's really inspiring for other people when you look at somebody who's fulfilled their purpose. If you look at anyone who's successful in their field and they're doing it right, when they talk, they're speaking from the heart, like you can see there's an alignment in it. That is the brightest place we can be in this world, because the process of loving, bringing the light out of ourselves, and the process of being honest with ourselves is part of the process that brings us our tribe. And that tribe that brings you stability. It cures loneliness. It cures the ability to have a support system that when, should you fail a little bit in what you're working on, they might be able to help you see new ways or keep you going so that you can find a new way to keep your purpose going. One of the things that I was really looking for a year and a half ago, I was, sitting and, working on music, and, I would consistently stop. I would consistently work on things for a few days, and, I didn't get any likes on Instagram on this one little thing I did, and I would just stop. Because I was so dishonest with myself. I was caught in a place where I thought my purpose in music and I thought my purpose in everything I did was just to get likes, to become more popular. And once I got more popular, I would get more money. And then that would just be success. And success is something very, very much different than that. Success is something that has to do with your ability to practice the process and not be in a place where you're dishonest with yourself and out of alignment. And one thing I always try to keep in mind, I don't remember where I learned this. I wish I did, because I would tell you guys in a second. But if two friends or two people, it doesn't matter, two people in the world, if they're looking straight ahead and they're following their path, their honesty, if those two people are 1 degree apart, even if it's 1 degree, when you take 1,000 steps, you just become farther and farther apart. And that is where I talk about alignment. And that could be even within yourself. I was dishonest with myself, thinking that success was only based in money or based on likes. And I didn't ever look at my fulfillment, or I never looked at how I was sharing with no expectation, or the real things that matter to me, so I could be 100% along in a line. I was traveling like this, even within myself. And if we have that disconnect within ourselves, it becomes even harder to find the people around us who want to work with us in such a way that we could build ourselves up. Our purpose is such a special thing. And, when I think about life and I think about what it was to be 20 years old, and I think about what it is to be 36 now, because I'm 36 years old, time goes really fast once you hit your late 20s. And if your mission isn't something that's clear to you, you'll lose time really quickly. So I was a year ago doing this music stuff, and again, I was kind of lost. And the one thing I wanted to do was become, I was like, oh, how come I don't have any real friends right now at the moment? How come I don't have any real people around me who want to see me win? But after my accident last year, and I started Toned and Toneful, and I know I always bring this up, Toned and Toneful, but because Toned and Toneful was me finding myself. Doing this with you guys is me finding who I am and actually owning it. Now when I play guitar, I own every note I play. If I make a mistake, it's okay, because that's the mistake I would make. That's Chris. And I think that a lot of us need to see that in ourselves in order to find our tribe. Because as I kept working on Toned and Toneful and kept becoming more consistent, I started getting messages from people. Started getting different messages. At first, they're just messages. But over time, certain people seem to connect more and more and more. And then a really, really important friendship of mine from a long time ago, my friend Ben, thank you, brother, we started aligning again. And we started aligning because, Ben and I had both gotten on separate paths. We were looking at that 1% difference. I was smoking a lot at the time, and I was drinking and kind of looking at my life as I want to live this lifestyle where I smoke and then I get lots of likes on Instagram and I'm cool with everybody and stuff. And as things started kind of going further and further and further, I realized my path it's not doing those things. And then eventually I let the drinking go. Then eventually I let the smoking go. And every day became clearer and clearer. And as it became clearer, I could see the people around me. And when I saw the people around me and started noticing what they were all doing, I realized I didn't have a tribe yet. If I offered any advice to anybody, they'd be like, especially the people around me, they'd be like, yo, man, I don't know why you're always trying to be so sober and stuff, dude. I'm trying to get lit, bro. So they would view it as it was a negative of the side where I was coming from, where I was mentally starting to try to go. And I realized it wasn't about letting those people go, but it was about following my path. And as I followed my path more, those people just left my life. Not an aggressive, I'm deciding not to be their friend, because if any of those people changed where they were in life, I'd be more than happy to still be around them every day, because I'm not the kind of person who wants people out of my life. But realizing that purpose and realizing that the tribe that I'm meant to be around are people who are trying to get things done. They are people who are putting effort every day into their mission and bringing light into this world. And when I say light into this world, I mean, doing the work from your talent and with your special abilities. Some people are really good with communicating in a certain way, and there's a certain way of communication that they should be doing in order to make this world a better place. And they're not observing it. And some people are observing it. And I think once the people who aren't observing it are observing it, they can find that tribe that is observing their talents in a similar way, and they can spend time with them and build their self. And for me, as I've gotten more along the line of doing my music, more music friends have come along. As I've come down the alignment of spending more time, of being more consistent and being much more articulate with what I want, rather than just kind of being like, all right, cool, I'm gonna get lit and just do this, like, and then I'll do this and then I'll do that. The people who were kind of just doing this and doing that faded from my life, and people who were much more decisive, and people who are much more about music, and people who are much more about, hey, like, if we make this plan on this day, let's get it done. Those people started appearing in my life. And I couldn't be more thankful. And right now I feel so supported because one of those people is my father. And my dad and I have not been at odds, but we've had an interesting relationship where we're so similar. And like, for some odd reason, we couldn't connect. But the disconnect wasn't my dad and it wasn't me. It was the path that I was walking along that wasn't right for me. That was, funny enough, a path my dad just doesn't walk. My dad's a very, very, very solid dude. And he's always making sure that the people around him are taken care of. He brings light into this world. And he's absolutely one of the most solid people I know. He just makes sure things are happening. And there was a time where I just dreamed big. I was just dreaming big, like, oh, Dad, I'm going to do this with my music, and this is like, I'm going to do this video, and it's going to have this and this and this. And he would be like, okay, so how are you going to accomplish that? Like, that's cool, but what is it that goes into that makes that happen? And to be honest with you, I couldn't come up with an answer for him. I would always be like, well, like, I'm going to buy this guitar and then do this, and this is the aesthetic of it, and like, once my single comes out and I teach more lessons and this happens, like, it'll all work out. Guess what? That plan never even could happen because I didn't see it in my head. I didn't really know what it was. I would just be muttering things that sounded like something that would make sense. It felt good to hear my voice going off. Oh yeah, well, I'm going to do this and do this and do this. Now when I speak with you guys, I speak with purpose. I speak with like an intention in mind to help you guys, to help myself, to be honest with myself, to be honest with those around me, and make sure that I'm helping and making sure I'm pushing the rock forward. And now that I have a tribe of people around me, it's much easier to see where I was falling back before, because there's people to remind me like, hey, Chris, you're making a mistake here, but dude, this is how you fix it. And if you work on that, you could fix that, whether it's a guitar part, whether it's a planning thing, or even if it's speaking the truth and someone giving you an answer back that you actually need because you're actually telling the truth. You're actually being honest with yourself. Hey, it's really hard for me to find an artist to do my album cover work because I don't really know how to go about that. Okay, Chris, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you look for this person? Why don't you try that? Hey, have you ever looked here? And I realized that many of the people who are in my tribe, they struggle with that a little bit too, but they found a way. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to say in this episode is that if you find your tribe, you're not alone. They might not specifically be a family member or a best friend, but they could become a best friend. They could become family, because your tribe is the people around you who want to see you fulfill your purpose. And as you get closer and closer to that, instead of being people who are wanting to see you kind of like mess up, or they want to go, well, yeah, well, once you get to this point, it's going to suck. Or yeah, once you get here, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, they keep you on top of your game going, oh yeah, this thing might be tough, but I know you can like do that, dude. Like, I know that you can like find your way to work through it. And that is one of the most important things that we can have in our life is our tribe. And I think starting our year off with, if you have goals or if you have a mission, I think one of the things that you can do is have a tribe around you so that your year can go right. Hopefully you guys were reflecting on last year and taking a little time to think about, all right, what went well and what went bad? And like the things that went bad, were any of it under my control? And if it was, what can I do to be different about it? And if it wasn't under control of me, What can I do to like change my mindset towards it so I can work on the things that went well and then add more of that to my life? Add more of that. Because success is in loving the process and being able to visualize and manifest that process into something. Then you have success. The first thing, for me, one of the things that I've been doing is building Legos. And it's so crazy to watch it build into something. And once it does, there's a freedom in me because I realize, I did something that was once not a vision, and it gets built and it gets put together. As I work on a song and I'm playing and I see it come together, you're going, this idea really does exist. This thing that was in my head actually is real. And it can become something that I can bring to the world and I can share with no expectation because I know I built it exactly and created exactly the way that it was intended for me to do it. And that helps you see yourself so much better and have a healthier disposition towards yourself because the people in your tribe are also going to protect you mentally. They're going to protect you physically and they're going to protect your soul because these are all things that are so important in our life. So if we take a moment and we really get honest with ourselves, we really look at the people around us and go, hey, who is in my life that's really actually supporting my purpose? And sometimes if we're off of our purpose, it could be that one person who's kind of telling you like, hey man, like I think that you could do this better. I think you could do that. But then you start really hearing their words and I think that you could do this better or no. They actually believe in you. Rather than friends who you're sitting around with who go, oh, it sucks. Like this sucks today. And you're like, yeah, this sucks. It's really easy to spend time around people like that because you're agreeing with them. Do you really guys want to agree on things that just to say things suck or that this isn't good or the world's not going in a good place? Maybe the world isn't generally going in a good place, but are you doing anything about it to bring more light into this world? Are you doing anything about it to make things much closer to the envisionment that you have for this world? Because if you're not, then maybe that's why that person who's telling you things from the side, like, hey, I think you could do this better, or hey, I believe in you, but sometimes, like, I don't know. That's the person who actually wants to be in your tribe or sees you in a similar way, that in a more truthful way than maybe you even see yourself. So just keep thinking and keep bringing things forward. And if you do and look around, bringing your efforts forward, you will find that the people who belong in your life, they're going to love you, but they're going to love you sternly. They're going to love you in a way where they hold expectations for you, but it's an expectation based out of what they know you are. And when I say expectation, it's not like they're like, well, if you don't live up to this, I'm not your friend, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. But there's an internal part of them that wants to see you fulfill your purpose. There's an internal part of them that sees this talent in you or this specific ability to do a certain thing. And they're not expecting you to maybe do it perfect in 5 minutes or anything like that, but the expectation that you would use your best gifts and try your best. And is there something wrong with anyone expecting that out of us, to use our best? When I play with Ben now, sometimes I'll be like, oh, Chris, you're playing this guitar part, in my song, because we're learning one of his songs right now. We're building up a set and we're playing, and he's like, oh, this part kind of goes like this. And he's like, it's a little tough, but I know you can do it, dude. 3 minutes later, I'm playing the part. It took a few minutes of like, oh, it was kind of like a brain teaser, but I got it. But he sat there for those few minutes, and instead of me getting frustrated or realizing like, oh, I can't do this right now, dude, like this part's too weird for me. Can we whatever. He believes in me. He's like, no, dude, you got this. And I think the people around us who I'm really sorry about all the airplanes and the trains going off this morning. Today is the morning that everyone's traveling. But I really, really want you guys to understand that when that person believes in you and when that person sees the best in you, remember that your tribe is so special. It might not be a big one, but the people who are needed in your life, let them in your life. Hold on to them. If they say hi to you every time you pass by, say hi to them. If someone's offering up love or communication to you, offer them those same things back. You'd be surprised that the people that you think you care the most about are people who are just dwelling in misery, and you guys are dwelling in misery together. You guys aren't building together. You're not fulfilling your purpose. So take the time to think about that. And if you haven't sorted out what your mission or your goals are for this year, take a little time to think about that too, because that's the first part, is knowing what you need and being honest with yourself in order to make it to the next level. That, all right, now we're starting to make moves with this. All right, now we're starting to have an envisionment of what it is to be the most highest version of what I want to be. And those around me are joining me to help me get there and stay there. I really, really am excited about this new year, guys. I hope you guys are too. I know that there's a lot of things in this world that are in interesting places, but I think that we can change a lot of things. And I really hope that you guys take the moment to find your tribe and find those around you and make that the most positive experience for this year, so that you can become the person you want to be and share the things that you want to share with this world. And I really hope that your guys' rest of your week goes great. I hope the rest of this year starts off right. And most of all, above all else, stay toned and toneful.